Do you have a soul? If we do have souls, have we incarnated on Earth before? If it has been here before, what happened? 3 years ago, I was gifted a book. This book was called Journey of Souls. That says Destiny of Souls, bruv. Yes, it does. This is the sequel. I was lent the book by a friend of mine. I tried to read it. It was a bit out of my comfort zone. I wasn't exactly a spiritual individual, but I was a lyrical miracle. The evidence was empirical. My bullshit radar was going strong. Put it down. A couple months pass. Some things in my life end up happening that cause some real introspection and looking inward and peering under the hood to see what's going down. It's at this time where I'm more receptive. I'm more willing to explore outside of my little realm of what I think is real and what is not. What I think is possible and what I think is impossible. It's in that moment that I pick the book back up and begin reading. Michael Newton, PhD. It is pretty huge. I saw it. Michael Newton was a hypnotherapist and he worked with many people over the course of his career. Basically, when he started his work, he was just a hypnotherapist. In his sessions, through the years, something interesting ended up happening. His patients began to describe events, places, people that hadn't actually happened, at least not in this lifetime. What he concluded was that he was actually accessing past lives. And then once he recognized that, he leaned into it. And then he made that his whole career. He learned the right questions. He learned the ways to get the people in the right state for these memories, I suppose, to come out. And he began to kind of map out the world between worlds. What happens between a life? A couple of years later, I get the opportunity to partake in my own past life regression. It wasn't cheap. I think it was like $500. But the session itself was 4 or 5 hours. Quite a serious undertaking. And in preparation for 2 weeks, you take perfect care of your health, of your mind, body, spirit. Eating the correct foods, no sugar, no intoxicants, no alcohol, nothing like that. It was real pure. He also sent through like a guided meditation to listen to every night, to be able to practice getting into a hypnotic, relaxed, theta wave state. The 2 weeks is up. We have this session. Now, I fasted for 2 days prior to it, and I did the session in this fasted state. So I was 48 plus hours at this point. My thinking was, I know that a lot of the ancient texts and stuff, fasting and pilgrimage was a big part of a connection to a higher power. This was like a known way to get in touch with the spirit world. You've reduced the inputs to a point where the inner voice is just so much louder. The same thing happens when you do a dopamine detox. When you turn off the computer and your laptop and the social media and the games and whatever else. You do that for a while and it sucks and it's really hard. But then after a while, the dust just settles and you see things so clear. And I would recommend that too if you're ever in a tricky place. Try that. Try removing all inputs and just listen. That voice will turn up, bro. I've heard it said that your conscience is the authentic voice of God. Anyway, at this particular point in the fast, I was going through like a rinse cycle. It was a 4 or 5 hour hypnosis session. I had to get up to pee like 8 times because I think my body was just like on a cleanse cycle or something, I don't know. And so that affected the process a little bit, I think, because I felt like I was always being shaken out of the hypnotic state. Anyway, here's how it goes. The first step of the hypnotic process is just relax. And he kind of talks to you in a very soothing way. He's trying to lower your guard, and from there I suppose you become more suggestible. I accessed, I think, 3 lives during this past life regression. I'll share 2 of them with you. So, the first life, the hypnotist was like, you're on a cloud, you're descending. Eventually I come down through the clouds and I wake and I'm at some kind of coastal town. It feels like 1900-ish. Maybe Scotland or Ireland or like just the United Kingdom. So I'm like in this coastal town. The sea is to my left. I continue walking down the street. I take a right. He's asking you to describe what you're seeing, what you're smelling. I stop off at a pub. I'm grabbing a pint. So far this seems relatively realistic. before I share the rest of this story, I should say, like, when it comes to past life regression stuff, from what he told me, the things that usually you tap into are like key moments in your soul's journey. In all of your lifetimes, what you remember is like the critical points, the crossroads, the big lessons, the big events of that particular lifetime. And so with that being said, I'm in this pub and the guy walks in and he was loud, he was boisterous, drunk. He was pissing me off. I was like trying to enjoy a nice quiet drink. And then it kind of skipped forward. There was a missing block there. And then it kind of cuts to me and I'm like walking very quickly from this pub and I'm looking back and I'm like high stress. I feel fear in my body, and in the hypnosis, this translated through to real life. I could feel the fear. I think I did something bad to this guy. I hit him with a, but it felt like an accident because I remember thinking, oh fuck, I fucked up. Another moment in the same lifetime that we kind of jumped to was like my wedding day. I remember getting married. She was a pretty girl. We were late 20s. She had red hair, but not full-on ginger. Not a Ronald Weasley, a Hermione Granger maybe, a strawberry. But the last part of this life that I remembered, because we kind of went like chronologically, was what made me believe that maybe this really happened, because it was just very oddly specific and I don't know how I could have made this shit up. So it cuts ahead. I'm an older gentleman with my wife. We've cracked it. We're making good money, or I am. I don't know. We have like a nice big white stone mansion in like the countryside. This thing's sick. This place is awesome. I live there with my wife and we have multiple children. I think we have 4 kids or something. And this is where it gets weird. My wife passes away. I'm old at this point. I'm 70 or 75. My kids don't live at home anymore and I'm lonely. And I was in like the foyer or the center of the home, close to the door, and I'm playing like a grand piano. I remember the specifics of just how the piano echoed through the house and how I just felt so alone. I remember thinking in that moment, like, look, you made it, you're where you wanted to be, but what do you have? You're alone. So I get sick and I'm old and it's just me and like my caregiver there. And I asked to be moved from my master bedroom to the room next door to the courtyard, because the courtyard had a rose garden and that was my wife's favorite place because she had since passed. And I stayed in that room and I remember looking out the window at the flowers every day, and I died in that room. This is what I mean when I say, like, if it was made up, where the fuck did that come from? The key moments of what comes up, the most emotionally heavy or transformative moments in your life is what comes to mind. Obviously the wedding day, potentially killing a guy, allegedly, and my wife passing and my own death were like the 3 big things that I remembered. We then accessed another life, and this one, my first waking memory was looking down at my feet, and I had little feet. I was a girl, not just a woman, but a young girl. And I was in kind of like a jungle environment. It felt Amazonian or South American, or it was a jungle, and I was walking alongside a little creek. And I'm trotting up the creek, and then I reach kind of a hut on my right hand side. And in the hut is my family. There's my mum, there's my dad, and there's 3 siblings. And I'm the oldest. I think I must have been like 10 or 11 or 9 maybe, in that region. My siblings are all quite a bit younger. I remember feeling kind of small and ignored. I felt like a bit starved of attention. I felt like I didn't have much of my own identity. I was just like a useful babysitter for the kids. I just felt like a parent, kind of. But I didn't get any adult privileges because I was still a kid. So no one respected me, and I also had all these duties to do. Anyway, my dad and I have a big argument. Big one. Blows up. I run off into the jungle. And my friend follows me. My one friend, who's a boy. And I remember sitting there in the jungle on these ones, having a good sulk. And the bro comes up, my friend. This is like kind of awkward to say almost, but I think he took advantage of me in the jungle at my lowest point. And that was the biggest memory from that lifetime. The premise of the whole past life regression hypnotherapy stuff is like you can find out what happened to you in previous lives, because sometimes the trauma, so to speak, carries through. You continue to kind of live the same cycles until you deal with it. I'm not going to do a full book review, but I will summarize it briefly with the core ideas. Consciousness survives death and transfers to a spirit world. After death, souls are greeted by loved ones, guides, and they do like a life review. Earth is a training ground. This is where spirits come to evolve. This is where we come to grow, to taste the universe, if you will. We go from like infinite potential to in a flesh puppet to try it out, to be faced with real challenges, sickness, hardship. You choose your struggles. You choose your friends. You choose your parents. You choose where you live. All of it with the intention of evolving more. Each and every life you evolve another tier. And like in the book, he even talks about like aura. Essentially, I don't know if he uses that word, but like the more evolved souls carry a different color aura. And I think the last level is like purple or something. He also says that some of the most influential people, or like the greats, if you will, or like the best healers who kind of make a real impact on the world, are like these later evolved souls that are nearly finished. They work their way up the ranks, they become like teachers and leaders, and then they pass on and they evolve, and then they continue being a spiritual leader on the other side for new souls coming through. I understand these are extreme ideas, or at least sicker than your average. I get it, it's a bit radical. As stated before, I'm not trying to make you feel one way or the other, because I myself don't know the truth. I don't know. I still wonder. I walked away from that thinking like, man, is it bullshit? I could have just made that up. The thing that makes me think otherwise was the random specificity. I have had friends who have had past life regressions, and they've been like 100% sure that it was legit for them, because they really sunk right into a hypnotic state. And so that's it. I just thought I'd share those stories with you today. I'll be really interested to know if any of you have experiences with past life regressions. You think it's bullshit? Be real with us. It's okay. If you're interested in these topics, pick up this book and his older brother, Journey. This guy is pretty legit, I'll say that. He's not a dude who tried to write a book to make money. Like, this guy had an extensive career and then like wrote books as a byproduct, you know? It wasn't the other way around. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit the bell so you get the notification. Let's get some bounce back. I'll see you in the next video and maybe the next live.